verse begins with Isaiah chapter 55, verses 1 and 2. An invitation to abundant life. Ho, everyone who thirsts, come to the waters, and you that have no money, come, buy and eat. Come, buy wine and milk without money and without price. Why do you spend your money for that which is not bread, and your labor for that which does not satisfy? Listen carefully to me, and eat what is good, and delight yourselves in rich food. And then from Matthew chapter 6, verses 19, 21, and 24, concerning treasure and serving two masters. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust consume, and where thieves break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. No one can serve two masters, for a slave will either hate the one and love the other, or be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and wealth.
Thank you, Karen, for sharing our scripture with us today. I love HGTV. How many are with me? Yeah, big hands. Each show offers something unique and special for home shopping and renovation. But I have to be careful when watching at times, because I can quickly become envious of all the expensive things, the expensive homes people are able to buy. I think, why do they get to have a beautiful home and beautiful things, all fancy and new? What about me? That's when I need to turn it off. Both the Old and New Testament calls us to contentment rather than covetousness. Jesus addresses it this way in a passage many of you know well from Luke, chapter 12, verse 15. Take care, Jesus says. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions. I was struck by a thought the other day. Every day, the last thing I do as I walk out the door is to grab my purse. Make sure that my wallet is where it's supposed to be, on one side of my purse, and my cell phone with my NRSV Bible app on it, on the other side. Yes, I use apps. And a Bible. It's easier to carry around than the full thing. I use it, and I don't go many places without it. I use my Bible app almost every day as I do my cash and my debit card. And here's what hit me. Many of the decisions I make will be made in the tension between what my Bible represents and what my wallet represents. The Bible calls me to contentment and reminds me that I don't need most of what I want, and that my life does not consist of the abundance I have in it, of my possessions. My wallet with my cash and debit card represents my desire for more and my credit cards for which I can have what I want more of now. And it often leads me into conflict with my Bible. The war is exemplified by what is in my purse every day, one on one side of my purse and the other on the other side. And dare I say, with a man, it's the wallet in one pocket and maybe a pocket Bible or something that represents your faith in another pocket. It's sometimes, for me, it's not having the discipline to say no, or convincing myself that I need something that I really don't need. I could talk myself into it like that. Something that I really won't use, which will really not satisfy. Here's a silly example. I'm not saying this is a sin, but it is something I should have thought about differently. I bought can't see it very well back there. This blouse, you'll see it when you come, you've seen it on me before. I bought this blouse last year at Evans. It's a nice blouse. One I never pay the full price for, but it was 60% off at Evans. I wasn't sure what I would wear with it at the time, but it was 60% off at Evans. And I brought it home. And I could not figure out whether I really liked it. But I kept thinking, it was 60% off at Evans. And at 60% off, it was still $25, which would have been a tank of gas for our Prius, or dinner out with some friends, or some food to donate in one of those bags that gets put in your mailbox that they'll pick up on Saturday. I like having some of those food items at the ready, because I know I'm going to get at least 2 of those bags each year. Now, one rule that has helped me at times, maybe not at Evans, but at times, is simply to wait, to choose not to buy the thing I want to have, or just think I need to have, just yet. I'm not saying I won't buy it, but if a day or a week or a month, or in some cases a year from now, I still feel I can afford it and that it is something that will bring me joy, I'll buy it. I also typically choose to purchase what is several steps below what I could afford. I could, I suppose, have afforded this blouse at full price. But at least I got it at 60% off. My aim as well is to pay cash for what I'm going to buy, because credit card use is a real bad debt trap. And I hope it's one you're not in. But if you are, there is help out there. Please seek it. And except when I find a blouse that's 60% off, I try to avoid impulse spending, knowing it seldom is something I'm happy about buying afterwards. I come home, and if I find myself sneaking the bag in beyond Mike and getting it upstairs and into my closet, I know it was probably something I shouldn't have done. Didn't quite need to spend that $25. My closet is full of blouses, isn't it? She knows my closet. Don't need more. Definitely don't need more. If we could summarize the practices of a good financial manager, according to the experts, they say, 1, say no to the constant desire for more. 2, act your wage. Spend less than you make. 3, have clear goals and a spending plan to achieve them. 4, save for emergencies, then save for retirement. And that's after getting out of debt. Get out of debt first. 5, I hate to even say this one. Use credit or credit cards sparingly. I'd actually would rather say don't use them at all. Ultimately, our relationship with money and possessions is a heart problem. This is why the New Testament describes covetousness as idolatry. The question is about what is most important here. Jesus said it this way, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Recently, I heard about a man who had a great job at a terrific company that at times demanded that its employees give their entire heart and soul to the firm. The man described a morning that he was having with his wife. He was having breakfast with her at a local restaurant, and he looked across the restaurant and saw one of the senior people at his firm having breakfast with his wife and his children. How nice. He noted, I looked over from time to time to see how he interacted with his family at breakfast, but he never looked up from his computer to acknowledge his wife or his children. I don't know the man in question, but at least that morning, he could not see the treasure sitting all around him. His treasure was his work and what it afforded, and his heart followed. Your life does not consist in the abundance of your possessions, nor of the position you hold at work, nor the amount of zeros on your paycheck. The pivotal question in our lives is whether it will be the Bible or the wallet, which comes first and which comes second. Which comes first and which comes second? Is it money or God that sits on the altar of your heart? Or ask it another way, which pocket drives you? Now let me end with a few wonderful quotes about our stewardship. There are 3 kinds of givers, the flint, the sponge, and the honeycomb. To get anything out of a flint, you must hammer it. And then you only get chips and sparks. To get water out of a sponge, you need to squeeze it. And the more you use pressure, the more you will get. But the honeycomb, it just flows with its own sweetness. Which kind of giver are you? Second, giving with gladness and generous hearts has a way of rooting out the tough old miser within us. Even the poor need to know that they can give. Just the very act of letting go of money or some other treasure does something within us. It destroys the demon greed. And I love that. This is from Robert Foster. It says, even the poor need to know that they can give. It's so important. And finally, when it comes to giving, some people stop at nothing.